Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We're going to talk a little bit about guitar today. The Telecaster, I have one behind me. If you want to hear me play that, you can check out my music channel link below. I have some songs where I do indeed play a Telecaster, though maybe not in the way that you're used to seeing people play Telecasters, like with country music or whatever. Anyway, it's the 75th anniversary of the venerable Telecaster. Fender is celebrating that with some special edition guitars that I'll show you. And every guitar player that I've seen on the internet or that I know has been like, what the hell is Fender thinking with this? And I think I know what they're thinking, and I'd like to explain it. It's not as crazy as you think, but the craziness really comes from a value proposition. Let's take a look at these guitars, and then I'll tell you what the hell I think Fender is thinking. So here's the 75th anniversary Telecasters. We have a American Ultra 2 Telecaster. There's an American Professional Telecaster. There's a Vintera Roadworn 1951 Telecaster, which really would be a no-caster. I actually had a custom shop no-caster at one point. It was a pretty cool guitar, but I was not a fan of the neck. And the 75th anniversary Player 2 Telecaster coming in at $1,099 or $1,100. The big one is $3,000 for the 75th anniversary American Ultra 2 Telecaster. That's a lot of money. And so when you see a value that high for a guitar, what I start to do is I start to make comparisons to other brands and other things that you can get for $3,000. So once you get to $3,000, you're looking at a higher end Les Paul Standard, or even a Les Paul Custom, something that has a really nice maple top, like a flame maple top. You're starting to get into PRS territory. You're starting to look at Music Man, John Petrucci guitars and things like that, and you're just comparing it to a Telecaster. Now, this is a really nice Telecaster. These photos really do not do any justice to what this finish is going to look like. If you want a better idea of what it's going to look like, Phil McKnight did a deep dive on this specific guitar that came out today, and right after they announced these guitars. I'm sure Fender arranged that with them, so they got the product earlier, or whoever was sending it to them, Guitar Center or Sweetwater, and so it's coming out that day. It's a very cool guitar. This is a guitar that's spec'd in a way that I would like to spec a Telecaster. It has like the Bartolini rail pickups, which I had in this guitar behind me at one point, and in general, it's a great spec for a guitar. This is the modern cut of a guitar with the belly cut and then like a little bit of an arm carve. I have a friend who had a Telecaster that was carved like this. It's very comfortable to play. It's a great guitar. Is it $3,000? Because that's what most players are thinking of. Is this a guitar that's going to be worth $3,000 for me? It doesn't have stainless steel frets. Yes, it's a special guitar with a special finish, but it doesn't have stainless steel frets. And then what if I bought just a regular Telecaster and I set it up with this stuff? I had an angled pickup selector. I put some S1 switches to switch from series to parallel, which I think is how it's set up. And I put different pickups in it. Like my pickups are not standard. Those are actually Greg Koch pickups, and you can hear them by checking out the music channel and listening to all the different cool tones I can get out of those pickups. And I did a review actually of those pickups. I think they're fantastic. So for $3,000, you have a lot of options that are not going to be a standard factory made Fender guitar with a polyurethane finish. Because like I said, if you go with like a Gibson Les Paul, you're going to be getting a nitro finish, which is a more expensive finish, harder to work with, harder to do correctly, a more premium feeling guitar. This is a bolt-on guitar. As much as people will reiterate, especially players who know and luthiers who know, a bolt-on guitar neck, a screw-on guitar neck is not any weaker or any worse than a glued-in set neck. It is, in fact, a lot of ways stronger. I'm a big fan of bolt-on necks. Some of my best guitars have bolt-on necks. I have a John Petrucci with a bolt-on neck, and it's a fantastic guitar. My Ibanez's have had bolt-on necks, and they're fantastic guitars. This Telecaster has a bolt-on neck, and it's a fantastic guitar. It's a very strong joint. But the consumer thinks about what is premium, because for $3,000, we want something that's premium. And a polyurethane top coat and a bolt-on neck doesn't feel as premium as nitro finish set neck, which is what you're going to get with like a PRS or a Gibson. And this is a very cool paint finish. I have a two-tone iridescent paint finish on my Music Man. So again, you're going to be making a comparison to other brands. But if you want a really high-end Tele, this is a good one. And I know what Fender is really thinking with this, which is they're testing the water for how expensive they can actually make their guitars. We've always felt like Fender guitars, at least for me as a player, they're platforms, right? I have different pickups in my guitars. I don't know if any of my Fender guitars have stock pickups. No, that's not true. I do have one with stock pickups. So, no, that's two. I actually have two with stock pickups, but I tend to switch the pickups out on Fender guitars. It's not because their pickups are bad, but because I can get so many different kinds of replacement parts for a Fender. It just kind of invites experimentation. If you wanted really different kind of pickups, then you could buy them and put them in, and they've just always been great at that. So this one comes spec'd out with those more premium parts, and that's good. But for a player, the temptation is to buy a cheaper guitar, maybe buy a used guitar even, and put some of these things in. Fender is trying to drive up the value proposition of their guitars. And so the way they're going to do that is by having a couple of like maybe special edition guitars that are going to push the envelope on that price a little bit, limited edition. Maybe you're not going to be able to get one of these. It's a special finish. It's a one-off finish. It really is a special thing, but it sets in your mind that the upper limit for a Fender guitar that's not before you get to the custom shop is going to be $3,000. So when they come out with other American Player 2s next year that are $2,400, you're going to put that in a category of, oh yeah, well, it's a really premium guitar, so $2,400 is, that's a pretty acceptable price for what they're getting at. Gibson actually did this way back in the 90s. This was a strategy that Gibson employed, which was rather than trying to compete on price, rather than trying to make their guitars as good as they are and make them more cheaply so they can sell them at a lower price point and outcompete that way, they just made their guitars more expensive. And so the result was people viewed it as a higher, more premium product, a luxury brand, if you will. And so they approached buying the guitar as a value proposition of an investment. I'm going to buy this guitar. It's going to hold a lot of its value. It's going to be an heirloom guitar I can pass down. And Gibson guitars are great. I've had Gibson guitars, and they've always been really good guitars. So there's nothing to say bad really about the quality that I've experienced with Gibson guitars necessarily, but Fender can now follow with that strategy where they were a more player focused brand. Now they're wanting to move more, I think, into a premium and kind of luxury brand to hit that higher market, that richer market, the market that PRS has, the market that Gibson has. They're looking to push more into that with their classic, with their classic shapes. That's not the biggest story though. So $3,000, that's pushing it. However, this is a one-off guitar. This is a guitar that I think I would really like to own. I don't know if I would want to own it for $3,000 because of the value proposition. Doesn't have stainless steel frets. It is a bolt-on guitar. I can just put these parts into another Telecaster, right? The American Professional for $2,000, when we compare it to the $3,000 one, we're like, okay, well, that's 2/3 the price for an American-made guitar. This is a really good value proposition. We forget that you used to be able to buy American guitars for like half that price, not that long ago. So it's still double the price of a lot of American guitars. And the features that you see on American guitars or any of the guitars don't increase the value of the guitar that much. It's not like the parts are so much more expensive than the stock baseline parts. It's more the idea of giving additional bits of value here. Okay. The big story is actually this one. So this is the Roadworn 1951 Telecaster. I would be pretty shocked if they have an actual 51 no caster neck. Those things are like baseball bats, and I just feel like your standard player is not going to like the real neck from a 51 Telecaster. I've played, I had a 51 custom shop, like reissue Telecaster that had that neck on it, and it was huge, let me tell you. And as far as like vintage Telecasters that have come across, the necks are still pretty big. So I'd be shocked if it was an actual 51 neck. I don't have one to really tell. But the big story with this guitar is not that it's this Roadworn relic guitar. Maybe you like relic guitars, maybe you don't. I'm not a fan of relic guitars personally. It's just not a thing that I care that much about. But for $1,900, this is made in Mexico. Okay, so this has like the vintage bridge, which mine has. It's got these aren't. I don't think these are quite like vintage knobs, but it's vintage-ish. But it's made in Mexico. Okay, made in Ensenada. That's in Mexico. For those of you who don't know where Ensenada is. So the Mexican Fenders have always been a high quality but bargain proposition. That's always been their position as a mid-tier instrument. You have the American instruments, which are the premium instruments. Then you have the Mexican instruments, which are still really good. They say Fender on them. They are just mid-range instruments for players, for people who want a really good instrument to play and that's going to be reliable and do a great job for them. This one is $1,900 for a Mexican-made guitar. That is really pretty shocking to me. And then, of course, you would get Squiers, which are made overseas. They'd be like the budget brand, the import brand. And I've been seeing the price of Squiers go up to where I'm seeing a lot of like $500-$600 Squiers. Then they have a Fender that was made overseas for selling for like $600, which is just really weird to me. And I think erodes some of the value proposition of the brand. So while making a Fender overseas erodes the value proposition of the brand, I see a lot of this as attempting to elevate the value proposition of the brand and elevate the value proposition of a Mexican Telecaster by offering it in a Roadworn package. That is to say, it's going to be relic, so it's supposed to feel more like a vintage guitar. This one actually has nitro finish. So if the Mexican one has nitro finish, well, that's going to increase the value of it. And maybe they're testing out, offering more finish options in Mexico. But I think the whole idea of this anniversary kind of lineup here, and of course the $1,099 for a Mexican Tele, that's actually pretty reasonable if you compare other, say, like high spec Mexican Telecasters or Stratocasters. I see Mexican, Meteoras reselling for more than what they originally retailed for at this point, which means that there might be demand for those that is just not, it's just showing up as a higher market value for a used guitar or for an older guitar. So I think that's what's going on here. I don't know if that's going to work, but I think that's what they're going to attempt. And because these are special editions, you can bump up the price quite a bit and people won't really be all that surprised. And in fact, I would bet you anything they're going to sell out of that $3,000 Telecaster. They're going to sell out of it because people are going to feel like it's a rare product, something that's going to hold its value or maybe even increase in value. There's lots of people who buy those special edition PRSs and then sell them for more money than they bought them for, the special edition Gibsons, and then sell them for more money than they bought them for because they're a more limited edition kind of thing. I don't see Fender pushing into like the crazy territory where Gibson's offering like really super expensive like replica guitars, but who knows what they're going to do. They may be taking a page out of that book and just seeing whether they can really get into that premium market and set people's expectations to a higher value. Remember, everyone's trying to charge as much money as they can, and Fender is no exception. They've taken every opportunity economically to increase their prices, and then those prices, they want to keep them sticky. They don't want to bring them down. They want to bring them back down to reality, to where people are really feeling about them. And I feel like the place to really find the value of a Fender guitar is to look at the used market. You can look at Reverb, look at things on Facebook Marketplace, and you find that, especially the Mexican Fenders, they're way more in reality territory. People wanting $400 or $500 for them, which I think is a great price at this point. You used to be able to get an American used for like $500. That was a long time ago, but like $500 for a solid playing guitar. They're high quality. I've had them. I think that's a great buy. And then American, you can buy it for maybe $800-$900. you know, that's going to be a good buy, but it's not $3,000, right? I do think that that one will do well, but I don't know about the others. I think the whole idea is to kind of reset the value proposition, but I love your opinions on it. If you're a guitar player and you think about this kind of thing, or you're just into marketing and economics and you're kind of thinking about what, you know, how do you establish a luxury brand? I think you establish a luxury brand by charging a lot of money. I think having a high value for a thing as far as a high asking price sets the expectations in the consumer's mind that it's going to be worth that, even if you're not offering the same features like stainless steel frets. PRS guitars don't offer stainless steel frets, and they're still very expensive, and they're still really high quality instruments. They're amazing guitars. So anyway, I'd love your thoughts on this. If you're a guitar player, let me know what you think, and I'll check you all next time. You can hear my Telecaster on my music channel. I just didn't want to like fill this video up with me playing guitar. If you want to hear it, you know, boom, I'll give you a little sample here while we look at the book roll. Okay, so check it out, and I will see you all next time.